Beneath the Twin Towers lay what engineers called the Bathtub, a giant basement as big as 8 city blocks and more than 75 feet deep. It contained 7 levels of parking lots, maintenance offices, mechanical rooms, and the Path, a commuter rail system running under the Hudson River from New Jersey. A 3-foot-thick concrete retaining wall called a slurry wall kept the Hudson River and groundwater from flooding into the basement. When the towers collapsed, most of the floors that had held the slurry wall in place were destroyed. Unsupported walls shifted. If they caved in, water would fill the bathtub and inundate the Path and New York City's subways, flooding them for miles.
After September 11th, the 3-foot-thick slurry walls were found to have shifted up to 18 inches inward.
These walls are coming in. These walls hold back the river. So if these walls cave in, this place is going to get flooded out by the river.
Let's think about this. A pancake collapse should have left the foundations in place. They had always borne the weight of 110 floors, but something happened in the sub-basements to disrupt them.
All the collapse had gone down to track level, so we had 60, 70 feet of wall, totally unsupported.
What kind of force could have dislodged so many stories deep underground?
It's awful.
The Salomon Brothers building in New York has also collapsed.
I need to take a break.
Do you have any idea whether or not other buildings in the immediate area are vulnerable at the moment? Whether there's concern about any other building as there was about this additional one?
Can anyone tell me how the closest water, which is enclosed by docks, could rush through the World Financial Center and flood Lower Manhattan? What the fuck are all these people talking about?
Problem with the pictures there, but what we can see is that sections of the other tower are also crumbling. Now, the reason this is happening, according to the website for the World Trade Center, they're actually telling us that the structure, the outside cladding of this building is integral to the safety and security of it. Once you penetrate that, apparently the very structure of the building is under threat, and that's why one tower has already collapsed. A live picture of the billowing smoke from the collapsing second tower. It is completely enveloped in smoke. It is on fire, and we understand this other tower is also in a situation of near collapse.
First, one of the Twin Towers we understand has collapsed entirely. We understand that the second Twin Tower, there are also collapses there. We are looking at the live picture, the Twin Towers in New York.
This mass
demolition is because the Twin Towers were constructed inside of what is called the bathtub, namely a dike or moat intended to keep Hudson River water out. Here you can see the residue from 1 and 2 where they were within the bathtub. Here's actually within the bathtub itself. If the bathtub had shattered, Hudson River water would have flooded beneath Lower Manhattan, the most valuable real estate in the world, the subway tunnels and the PATH train tunnels. That was something they had to avoid at all costs. So they had to contrive a very ingenious method of demolition that involved the kinds of complications I've been describing here. As it happened, the subway tunnels weren't filled with water, and Lower Manhattan was not flooded.
There's concern about any other building as there was about this additional one after the towers.
Well, from the angle I'm looking at...
And there was a huge explosion.
Was it hit by something or was it something inside?
It was inside. Because it looked out, everything was coming out. It was inside.
Did you see what happened? What happened?
Well, I was in the PATH train and there was a huge explosion sound. Everyone came out.
Problem with the pictures there, but what we can see is that sections of the other tower are also crumbling. Now, the reason this is happening, according to the website for the World Trade Center, they're actually telling us that the structure, the outside cladding of this building is integral to the safety and security of it. Once you penetrate that, apparently the very structure of the building is under threat, and that's why one tower has already collapsed. Live picture of the billowing smoke from the collapsing second tower. It is completely enveloped in smoke. It is on fire, and we understand this other tower is also in a situation of near collapse.
First, one of the Twin Towers we understand has collapsed entirely. We understand that the second Twin Tower, there are also collapses there. We are looking at the live picture, the Twin Towers in New York.
It was a bomb, just lifted everybody off our seats.
It felt like the whole classroom jumped.
It was a bomb, just lifted everybody off.
Jumped.
Just lifted.
Jumped.
Just lifted.
Jumped.
Subway, and they were worse off than we were. It looked like a bag of cement had just been poured all over them. And I was asking around what happened, because we didn't know. Was there a bomb in our building? We were right across the street from a federal building, so I assumed that's what got hit. And then the woman from the subway goes, no, the bomb was in the subway. We all thought we were right in the center of the bomb because nobody had an idea what was going on.
Fell. I know it registered on the Richter scale, and for instance, the Federal Reserve Building, their walls cracked. And there are actually signs, you know, if you go on a tour through there where you can see evidence of it. Well, the building I lived in was a landmark building, very old, Revolutionary War era, and it cracked as well. What happened to me is that what happened to all of us, basically, and it doesn't sound very nice, but this is what happened. We had sores. Some firefighters I know still have these horrific sores all over their body. Hair fell out, eye infections, shortness of breath, adult onset asthma, chronic coughs, tiredness, extreme fatigue, cardiac symptoms, heart palpitations where you never had any before, irritability, a lot of symptoms that were consistent with neurotoxic poisoning. Those were just the physical symptoms, and in some cases, people reported that their hair fell out and even their dental work fell out. And to me, they were consistent with signs of radiation poisoning. He had said that particles were ground so fine that they were the smallest particles ever produced in history. Feeling right, the September 11th help services and the Red Cross would try to get us into counseling, and to me, at the end of all of this, it seemed that we experienced the same thing that the Gulf War or other civilians who were exposed to local Superfund sites.
This mass
and pick up where they leave off, you know, this kind of thing. It's just everybody's just consumed with their own little petty squabbles now, and they don't really have even the opportunity, let alone the inclination that these elder patriots did. What is it? What has caused that? Why are people so apathetic nowadays that they don't want to or can't do what those in our past who have really inspired us and indeed really given us the fuel, the get-go out there Why isn't anybody really improving on that? It just seems like we're still running to catch up with those in our past who were way ahead of their time.
Yeah, the younger guys do seem to be like a carbon copy and a poor copy of the older guys, the legends, you know. But one thing we do have is this internet radio now. It's a great form. It's much better than we had when we were coming up. Like not only did we, to get the word out, we had to put these newspapers out, but we also used to make posters and go out in the middle of the night in New York City with these posters and poster up on the wall with our conspiracy theories and our information and stuff like that. So we're way ahead of that. Okay, with these internet radio shows, we have this. But now what happens with this, though, is now how do they get us? The infighting between all the hosts and all the different stations. And the backbiting and the talking behind each other's back. You get someone on the phone right away, blah, 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 they want to talk about everybody else. Now, I grew up with this. I grew up with the original COINTELPRO stuff. I've seen it firsthand when I was in high school, coming out of high school, my early 20s. I saw the real COINTELPRO, and I saw how they divide people, and they divide and conquer.
It's really sad.
But now they have it to such a science. Yeah.
Sorry,
they can whisper in people's ear and get people to work against each other and talk about each other behind each other's back, and even on the radio. And it seems like anybody you try to ally with, create an alliance with, they're fighting with someone else you're trying to create an alliance with.
Well, didn't the Founding Fathers warn against entangled alliances?
I suppose they did.
And this is something that I believe the Patriot movement also needs to recognise. And I hear what you're saying. And in the background of talk radio, you would not believe the stuff that the Patriots tell me about each other, you know. And it comes to the point where even when they're correct, even when they're giving you actual evidence of truthers lying, manipulating, stealing, demonizing, and being full on COINTELPRO, what it